There's a moment right before your life falls apart that feels completely ordinary. For me, it was a Thursday evening. I remember the smell of rosemary chicken drifting through the house, the muted hum of the dishwasher running in the background, and the fading light casting amber streaks across the kitchen tiles. I'd set the table for two, poured us both a glass of wine, Malbec her favorite, and even lit the little candle in the center like I used to back when we were still trying. It had become a routine. I cooked, she'd come down late, we'd eat half in silence and half pretending everything was fine. We were both good at pretending. Or I was at least. I didn't realize until that night just how far we drifted. Jamie had been upstairs for a while. I figured she was finishing up a call or picking out one of her endless outfits, something elegant yet casual, her specialty. I called her name once, no answer. Then again, louder. Still nothing. Figuring she couldn't hear me, I headed upstairs. I wasn't planning to sneak, but my footsteps naturally softened as I got closer to the bedroom. Our door was cracked just an inch, enough to let a sliver of golden light spill into the hallway. That's when I heard it. The faint tapping of her fingernails on glass. The rhythm was quick and familiar, texting. It wasn't unusual in itself. What froze me was her voice, low but unmistakable, barely above a whisper. I couldn't see her, but I could hear every word as if the house itself had gone still to listen. I'm coming. He has no idea. 6 words. That's all it took to flip my stomach and twist the air in my lungs. The kind of words you don't want to believe you just heard. My hand rested on the doorframe as I leaned in slightly, trying to see her. I could make out her reflection in the mirror across the room. She stood by the window, the warm orange sunset casting her in silhouette. She was wearing that cream-colored dress. Short, slim, tied at the waist with a silk ribbon. I bought her that dress. It had cost more than I wanted to admit. Jamie had expensive taste, but she loved it. Or so she said. I gave it to her for our anniversary, wrapped it myself, even attached one of those stupid handwritten notes she used to say made everything feel personal. You're stunning, I'd written. Can't wait to see you in this. But I never did. Not until tonight. She turned slowly, as if she knew I was there. Her phone still in her hand, screen lit, thumb hovering. She looked right at me. Didn't flinch. Didn't smile. Her face was unreadable, calm, poised, like she was just heading to another charity event or work gala. Then she said it. Quiet, almost bored. I'm not having dinner with you tonight. That was it. No apology. No reason. No lies to cover the moment. I blinked. My mouth opened slightly, ready to ask something. Anything. But no words came. The sentence hung in the air like smoke from a match that had just gone out. I expected awkwardness, maybe some fumbling explanation about a late meeting or a canceled plan. Instead, she just walked past me down the stairs like I wasn't even there. Her heels clicked softly against the hardwood, each step distant and final. I heard the front door open. Then close. She was gone. I stood in that hallway for a long time. Long enough for the silence to press in around me. Long enough for the scent of rosemary to turn sour. My hand was still resting on the wall. The moment didn't feel real, not yet. My brain was trying to make sense of it, trying to convince me it was just a misunderstanding. But that text. Those words. I'm coming. He has no idea. I walked into her bedroom, my feet suddenly heavy. The air was still warm from her curling iron, the faint trace of her perfume, vanilla and something floral, lingering in the air. Her phone wasn't there. She always took it with her. Lately, she never let it out of her sight. I looked around at the little things that once meant something, a framed photo from our honeymoon in Napa, the jewelry dish I bought her on a trip to Charleston, the book she never finished reading. All those things seemed like props now, set dressing for a life we no longer lived. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the empty doorway. What do you do when someone tells you, without telling you, that they're choosing someone else? The worst part wasn't the lie, it was the truth. The quiet, unapologetic way she said it. Like she didn't owe me a single piece of herself anymore. Like I was just an obligation she had finally decided to walk away from. I don't know how long I sat there. The house was still. The kind of quiet that's not peaceful, just hollow. I eventually went downstairs, turned off the oven, and dumped the untouched plates into the sink. I didn't eat. I wasn't hungry anymore. I stood in the doorway for a while, looking out at the street. Our neighborhood looked just like it always did. Sprinklers ticked back and forth on perfect lawns, porch lights flicked on one by one. Somewhere down the street, a kid laughed, chasing a dog through the yard. It all felt disconnected, like I was watching life from outside a window I couldn't open. She said she wasn't having dinner with me tonight. And somehow, I knew she wouldn't be having it ever again. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on the couch, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling while the shadows in the living room stretched and shifted. Every sound in the house felt louder, like it had been waiting for the silence to come alive. The hum of the refrigerator. The distant ticking of the wall clock. The occasional creak of the floorboards, like the house itself was asking, "What now?" At some point, maybe around 3 a.m., I sat up and turned on the TV, not to watch anything, just to drown out the quiet. I scrolled through old photos on my phone, thumb hovering over picture after picture of us smiling, laughing, wrapped in some embrace that now felt staged. It didn't hit all at once. It crept in slowly, this realization that maybe I'd been watching our marriage unravel for months and just chose not to see it. The signs were there. I remembered when Jamie first started changing her passwords. That had been maybe 6 months ago. One day, I picked up her phone to check the time, something I used to do without thinking, and it asked for a passcode. I looked up surprised. "You changed it?" I asked. She was putting on her makeup, eyeliner held steady in her right hand. "Yeah," she said. "Work's been cracking down on security." I didn't press her. I trusted her. She'd never given me a reason not to until recently. Then there were the client dinners. They became more frequent over time. Once a month turned into every other week. Then it was every week. Always on Thursdays. Always something last minute or an investor in town. I didn't question it. I wanted to believe it. I told myself she was just working hard. That her career was demanding. That I should be supportive. The truth is, I didn't want to be the jealous husband. I didn't want to be that guy, the one who questioned everything, who picked fights over phone calls or late nights or a new outfit. I'd seen friends go down that road and it always ended in resentment. So I kept quiet. I convinced myself that love meant giving her space, trusting her even when I started to feel like a stranger in my own home. Looking back, the moment that really sticks with me happened about 2 months ago. She was leaving for a wellness retreat in Sedona. Said she needed to recharge. She booked it last minute, just like everything else she did now. I helped her pack even though something inside me was already unraveling. I remember standing in our bedroom as she zipped up her suitcase. She looked so calm, so focused. Like nothing was wrong. "Wish you were coming with me," she said, not looking up. I smiled. "You always say that." She laughed lightly, kissed my cheek, and left. She posted pictures too. The first couple were just landscape *TS, red rock cliffs, desert sunsets. Then came the selfies. Her, smiling wide, sunglasses tilted just right. Hair blowing in the wind like it belonged in a travel magazine. She looked happy. Not peaceful happy. Not restful happy. Not the kind of happy that comes from deep breaths and guided meditations. She looked alive. Alive in a way she hadn't been in our house for months. I showed one of the pictures to my brother Jack, not because I suspected anything at the time, but just in passing. "Looks like she's having a blast," he said, squinting at my phone. "That the girl I remember from back in the day?" I didn't know how to answer. Because that girl, the Jamie I knew when we first met, had been gone for a while. Replaced by someone colder, distant. She still smiled, but not at me. She still kissed me, but not like before. She still said, "I love you," but only when she was walking out the door. It wasn't just the trips or the dinners or the phone. It was the way she carried herself. The way she dressed up now for the smallest errands. The way she kept her phone screen tilted away when she typed. The way she'd suddenly stop texting if I walked into the room. The quick flick of her thumb as she closed the app. Like instinct. One night, I asked her who she was always texting. "Just the girls," she said, sipping wine. "We're planning a brunch." "Which girls?" I asked. She raised an eyebrow, amused. "Why are you being weird?" I laughed it off, but I was dying inside. I started to feel like I was being gaslit in my own home. Doubting myself. Second-guessing everything. I'd pick up laundry and find receipts from stores she never mentioned. I'd hear her laugh from the other room, this high, carefree laugh that I hadn't heard in forever, and it would stop the moment she realized I was near. There was one night in particular, about 3 weeks before that Thursday. I remember it in full detail because it was the first time I let the suspicion fully enter my body. We were lying in bed. She had her back to me, scrolling on her phone in the dark. I could see the screen reflected in the mirror across the room. She wasn't texting. She was on Instagram, flipping through someone's profile. I watched the reflection, not moving, barely breathing. Every few seconds, her thumb would pause, then double tap. It wasn't her sister's account, or her friend from work. It was someone I didn't recognize. A guy. I finally asked, "What are you looking at?" She jumped slightly. "Oh, nothing," she said. "Just travel stuff." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake beside her, listening to her breathe, trying to remember the last time we'd had a real conversation. The last time she touched me without it feeling like a chore. The last time I felt like her husband instead of her roommate. And still, I told myself, don't overthink it. Don't be that guy. It's probably nothing. But after Thursday, after the dress, the message, the way she looked me in the eye and said it like it meant nothing, it all clicked. It wasn't nothing. It was never nothing. She'd been drifting away from me. Not because of work or stress or whatever excuses she offered, but because she was already somewhere else, with someone else. And I'd let it happen because I didn't want to believe what my gut had been screaming for months. She wasn't mine anymore. She just hadn't bothered to tell me. It's strange how the truth can arrive quietly. Not in a dramatic reveal. Not in a confrontation or an argument or some messy, accidental confession. No, sometimes the truth shows up in the smallest moment. Unexpected, unimpressive even. A blip. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. For me, it was a photograph. One single photo. I'd taken it myself. It was a Saturday afternoon, not long after Jamie's sunset declaration, maybe a week, maybe less. Time was weird after that night. Days passed in fragments. I went through the motions, coffee, work emails, chores, but nothing felt real. It was like I was watching my life through fogged glass. I started going through my phone a lot, maybe out of habit, maybe to feel connected to something. I scrolled through old photos, vacations, birthday dinners, weekend hikes we took back when we still did things together. There was one album I hadn't looked at in months. Randoms. Just a bunch of sh*ts I never sorted. Screensh*ts, blurry photos, junk. And there it was. Picture I didn't even remember taking. I must have hit the shutter by accident while fumbling with my camera a few weeks back. I remember the day now that I think about it. I parked downtown, running errands. Jamie had said she'd be out meeting clients, so I hadn't expected to see her. But in that blurry, sun-soaked frame, there she was, Jamie, outside a hotel, standing next to a man I didn't recognize. They were holding hands. My brain rejected it at first, told me it was nothing. Maybe it wasn't her. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. But the longer I stared, the clearer it became. Her dress. One I hadn't seen before but recognized from her reset trip. Her laugh captured mid-moment, her head tilted back just slightly. And him, tall, dark jacket, well-kept beard. The way he looked at her made something deep in my chest twist into a knot I knew would never quite unravel. I zoomed in, trying to find a reason, a lie I could believe in. But it was all there, their fingers intertwined, her eyes locked on his. That closeness that doesn't come from being friends or colleagues. That closeness you save for the person you don't have to lie to. Except she did. She lied to me, over and over. And I let her. I don't remember much of what I did right after that. I think I just sat there, staring at the screen, thumb hovering, heart racing. A part of me wanted to throw the phone across the room. Another part of me wanted to cry, scream, confront her. But I didn't. I did something much simpler. Posted it. Not out of revenge. Not to go viral or make a scene. It wasn't even a conscious decision. I just shared it to our shared photo stream. We used it for family stuff, birthdays, trips, things we wanted to look back on. She had it connected to her phone. She'd see it. I didn't caption it. Didn't need to. Let the picture speak for itself. The moment it went live, something shifted. I didn't know it then, but I'd pulled the pin on the grenade. Jamie vanished. First her phone went dark. Calls went to voicemail. Then came the notification that she'd deleted her Instagram. Facebook gone. Email bounced back. Even her work profile was wiped clean, like she never existed in the firm at all. She didn't come home. Not that night. Not the next. First, I thought maybe she needed time. Maybe she was ashamed. Maybe she was hiding from the fallout. But days passed and still nothing. No note. No explanation. Just an empty side of the bed and a growing silence in every room she used to fill. I checked our bank account, no withdrawals. Her car was still gone. Her closet half empty. Makeup bag missing. The toiletries she always packed for trips. Gone. Like she'd already been planning to disappear. The photo didn't just expose her. It ended her. I wondered if she'd already planned to leave, and the picture just sped things up. Or maybe she hadn't planned anything at all. Maybe she was just improvising like she always did. I couldn't decide which possibility hurt more. That she'd been waiting for an exit, or that she didn't even think I deserved one. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was the erasure. She didn't fight, didn't beg, didn't even try to deny it. She just vanished. And the thing that kept me up at night, more than the image of her holding another man's hand, was the ease of it all. How quickly she slipped out of my life like it never meant anything. Like I'd been a chapter in a book she was already done reading. At some point, Jack called. He's my older brother. We hadn't spoken much in the last couple years. Life got in the way. He'd text on holidays, send the occasional meme, but we hadn't had a real conversation in a while. He must have seen the photo. Or maybe someone sent it to him. Either way, he reached out. "Come stay with me," he said. I didn't argue. I packed a bag. Just a backpack, really. Couple shirts. Jeans. I didn't even grab a toothbrush. Didn't care. The house felt like a tomb, and I didn't want to be there when whatever version of Jamie came crawling back. If she came back at all. Jack's place was about an hour away, far enough to feel like an escape. He lived alone in a quiet neighborhood. Big yard. Porch swing. The kind of place where you can hear birds in the morning and your own thoughts at night. He didn't ask questions right away. Just handed me a beer, pointed to the couch, and turned on a game. We sat in silence for almost an hour. Finally, he said, "She's gone, huh?" I nodded. "Good," he said. "Then it's your turn to leave her behind." I didn't respond. Not because I disagreed, but because I finally understood something I hadn't wanted to admit. He was right. I didn't need closure. I didn't need an explanation. If she could disappear that easily, then I didn't need to chase someone who had no intention of being found. There was nothing left to fight for. Grief doesn't always look like tears. Sometimes it looks like a man driving down an empty road, windows down, music off, just trying to feel something other than the dull pressure behind his eyes. That was me, sometime after Jamie vanished, heading toward my brother Jack's house in silence. I hadn't slept, hadn't eaten much. I hadn't told anyone what really happened. I didn't even know what to say. How do you explain that your wife ghosted you like a bad first date? It felt surreal, like something out of a story you'd hear from a friend of a friend. But it wasn't a story. It was my life. The silence she left behind was so absolute it echoed. Every time I passed her side of the bed, her closet, her stupid herbal tea collection, I felt like I was walking through a crime scene. Everything was untouched, but nothing was alive. I didn't go to my parents' place. Didn't call my friends. I wasn't ready for the questions. I just drove, first to the gas station, then to a diner for coffee I didn't drink, then to Jack's. When he opened the door, he didn't say anything. Just nodded like he knew. And he did. Jack had always been the one who saw things coming before I did. When I first brought Jamie home 10 years ago, he shook her hand, smiled, and later told me quietly, "She's beautiful. But I don't know, man. Be careful. She's got that look." "What look?" I asked. "The one people get when they're already halfway out the door." Back then I laughed. Told him he was overthinking it. Told him she loved me. Now, I wasn't so sure she'd ever really seen me at all. We sat out on his back deck that night. The sun was setting again, like it had when she told me she wasn't having dinner with me. Different sky, same silence. "I'm not gonna tell you what to do," Jack said, finally breaking it. "But I will tell you what not to do. Yeah. Don't go chasing someone who doesn't want to be found. And don't burn yourself trying to warm someone who walked out into the cold on purpose." It hit me harder than I expected. Maybe it was the beer, or the fact I hadn't talked about it out loud yet, but something cracked. "She left like it was nothing," I said. "Because to her it probably was," Jack replied, calm. "And that's what should tell you everything." I didn't argue. Couldn't. Because he was right. That was the emotional turning point. Not her walking out. Not the hotel photo. Not even her radio silence. It was the moment I realized I didn't want her back. I didn't want explanations, didn't want apologies, didn't want to be the guy who got a second chance out of pity. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't broken. I was done. There's a strange kind of peace in that when you stop hoping for something and start letting go. I think most people assume heartbreak feels like screaming into the void or punching walls. But for me, it felt like calm. Quiet. Absolute. I slept better that night than I had in weeks. In the morning, Jack made pancakes, poured strong coffee, and didn't say a word when I opened my laptop and started taking notes. Not work stuff. Not personal essays. Just a list. A list of what I needed to do to end it cleanly. First item, call a lawyer. Jack glanced over the screen, raised an eyebrow. You sure? Yeah, I said. It's not about revenge. It's about closure. He nodded slowly. You do what you gotta do. I found an attorney that same morning, Martin Crawford. The name came up on 3 different forums and was recommended twice by people I vaguely remembered from college. Divorce attorney. Clean, discreet, effective. No billboard ads. Just good work. I called his office. The receptionist sounded chipper in that overly professional way you only hear in legal offices and funeral homes. Mr. Crawford has availability tomorrow afternoon, she said. Would you like to come in? Yes, I said immediately. Absolutely. The rest of the day passed in a strange rhythm. Jack had to work, so I was alone in the house. I walked the property, trimmed a few hedges with shears I didn't know how to use, and made a sandwich I didn't finish. I felt suspended between 2 lives, the one I used to have and the one I was building now from scratch with no blueprint and no backup plan. That night, I sat on the porch again, my laptop open in my lap. I started going through everything: bank statements, email archives, old travel plans. The more I looked, the more I realized just how thoroughly Jamie had been planning this. She hadn't booked a round trip to Sedona. Just one way. She hadn't been logging work hours. Her firm's portal showed nothing for the last 3 client meetings she claimed to attend. Her credit card statements showed hotel stays, dinners, Uber rides across town she'd never mentioned. She hadn't just left me. She'd been gone for months. She was just waiting for the right day to say it out loud. And still, I didn't feel hate. Just clarity. The next day, I met with Martin Crawford. His office was tucked into a brick building near downtown, the kind of place where the chairs were soft leather and the walls were lined with framed certificates. He was in his 50s, silver hair, clean suit, sharp eyes. You don't look like someone going through a divorce, he said after shaking my hand. What does someone going through a divorce look like? I asked. Usually angry. Or panicked. Sometimes both. You look resolved. I am. He leaned back. Tell me everything. I did. I told him about the dress, the message, the photo, the disappearance. I told him about the passwords, the solo trips, the way she looked through me like I was just an obstacle between her and her real life. When I finished, he nodded. You'll be fine, he said. Better than fine, actually. No prenup. No. He smiled slightly. Then we play a fence. In 3 days, Martin and his assistant gathered every piece of documentation we needed. Bank records. Messaging history. Location data. I even found a photo of Jamie in that same cream-colored dress at a rooftop bar 2 weeks before the hotel incident. Different man. Same expression. She was already gone. I just hadn't caught up yet. Martin was fast, methodical, ruthless in a way I needed. He didn't promise revenge. He promised resolution. You don't win by hurting her, he said. You win by leaving no room for her to hurt you again. So that's what we did. I transferred the utilities. I froze the joint account and opened a new one in my name. I took her off the car insurance. I had the locks changed and the alarm code reset. By the end of the week, everything was in my name. Everything that mattered, anyway. She still hadn't called. No message. No email. Nothing. It wasn't even silence anymore. It was absence. And for the first time since she left, I wasn't waiting for her to fill it. I was building something new inside it. There's a strange kind of satisfaction in taking back control, one form at a time. After days of drifting through my own life like a ghost, I found a rhythm. Not a good one, not a happy one, but steady, focused. I was done pacing the floors of a house filled with echoes. Done second-guessing myself. Done hoping for a knock at the door that wouldn't come. The moment I sat across from Martin Crawford, divorce attorney and wartime consigliere, I stopped being the victim. And I started being the planner. I want this done clean, I told him. Fast. No room for surprises. He nodded like he'd heard it 100 times before. We'll draft the complaint this afternoon. I'll need financial documents, anything digital you can gather, emails, texts, receipts. You have access? I do now, I said. Jamie hadn't changed her iCloud password. That was her mistake. I created a mirror of her phone months ago without even meaning to. Back when things were fine, I helped her sync devices. She never thought I'd remember. But I did. So I pulled everything. Hundreds of messages. A calendar filled with appointments that didn't exist. Uber rides to hotels I'd never been to. Voice memos. Notes. I found a saved draft on her phone from the night she left, titled simply Tuesday Plan. It was a checklist. Cream dress. Leave before 6. No explanation. Phone on silent. He'll be fine. I stared at that last line for a long time. He'll be fine. Like I was some errand she needed to cross off. Martin's assistant, Claire, helped me sort everything. She was quiet, professional. Every time she clicked her mouse or added another exhibit to the divorce file, I felt less like a man unraveling and more like a man building something. Prenup? She asked. Nope, I said. She didn't want one. Said she didn't believe in planning for failure. Claire raised an eyebrow. That's convenient. With no prenup, things tilted heavily in my favor. The house was in both our names, but I had owned it before the marriage. The accounts were mostly funded by me, my income, my savings, my investments. Jamie had her own job, yes, but she'd stopped contributing to anything shared about a year ago. I thought it was stress. I thought it was burnout. Now I saw it for what it was. She'd been planning an exit, slowly separating her life from mine while leaving me too comfortable, too trusting to notice. Martin took everything I gave him and turned it into strategy. We weren't going for scorched earth. We were going for airtight. Let her walk away if she wanted, just not with anything she hadn't earned. The legal complaint was filed under grounds of abandonment and infidelity. In our state, that still meant something. The photographic evidence sealed it. Do we notify her directly? I asked. Martin shook his head. Let her get served. Quietly. We'll time it right. Jack helped me clean out the house. Not the furniture, not the decor, just the pieces that felt like they belonged to her story and not mine. Her art prints came off the walls. Her yoga gear got boxed up. Her cookbooks, barely used, were packed and labeled. I cleared the medicine cabinet, the makeup drawer, the linen closet where she kept the guest towels no guest had ever used. Every drawer I opened felt like a page in a book I didn't want to finish. I found old photos, handwritten notes from our first years together. A travel brochure from a trip we never took. A wedding invite from a couple we no longer spoke to. It all felt like evidence from a trial that had already ended. I didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, but because crying implies there's something left to mourn. I was past mourning. I was editing. By the time we were done, the house felt different. Not empty, just honest. The illusion was gone. The performance was over. Jack left a bottle of whiskey on the counter and said, "You're doing the right thing." I know, I said. I just wish I'd done it sooner. There was one moment that week I can't forget. I was standing in my kitchen watching the sun filter through the window. It looked the same as it had the night Jamie told me she wasn't having dinner with me. The light hadn't changed. The world hadn't changed. Only I had. And then I heard it. The front door. Not a knock. Just the creak of it opening slowly. She was back. Jamie. Thinner. Pale. Hair pulled back in a messy knot. Dark sunglasses even though it was nearly dusk. She stepped inside like she didn't know if she was allowed to. I stood there, waiting. She froze when she saw me. "Brian," she said. Voice barely there. I didn't respond. I just looked at her. She took off her glasses, revealing blood****** eyes. I didn't know where else to go. "You don't live here anymore," I said calmly. Her lip trembled. "Can we talk?" "You don't need to talk," I said. "You need to read." I walked over to the dining table where a manila folder sat waiting. Inside, the divorce complaint. The evidence binder. A list of her property already boxed and stored in the garage. I slid the folder across the table. She didn't touch it. "What is this?" she asked, even though she knew. "Divorce," I said. "Everything's finalized. You'll be served officially in a day or two. I wanted you to see it first. Out of respect." She blinked, stunned. Like she hadn't prepared for this version of me. You already started this?" I nodded. "While you were hiding." She sat down slowly, hands shaking. "Brian. I made a mistake. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't mean for any of this." "Stop." She froze. "We're not doing the crying, the guilt, the memory tour," I said. "I'm not here to make you feel better about what you did." Tears welled in her eyes. "I left because I was confused. I didn't think you'd. You didn't think I'd move on without you," I cut in. "But I did. And I will." Her voice broke. "We're a family." "No," I said. "We were a family. Now we're a legal process." She stared at me, and for the first time since this all began, I saw it: panic. Real, unfiltered panic. Not regret. Not sorrow. Just fear. Fear that the man who once adored her, forgave her, waited up for her, was gone. I stood. Your things are in the garage. You can pack the rest tomorrow. I'll be at work. Leave the keys on the counter. She opened her mouth again, but I didn't care what was coming. I just pointed to the door. She walked out slowly, not looking back. Jamie returned the next day just after noon. I heard the garage door open, then the muffled sound of boxes being shuffled. She didn't knock, didn't call, just moved like a ghost through the space we once shared. I watched from the upstairs window, expression flat. She wore the same sunglasses, but this time she didn't try to hide her face when she stepped inside. Can I talk to you? She asked softly. No, I replied. She lingered in the doorway, desperate. Brian, please. I need you to understand, eh? There's nothing left to understand, I said. You made your decision when you walked out. This, I gestured to the house, the silence, the emptiness was the result. Her eyes darted toward the folder still on the table. She picked it up, flipped through it, each page a nail in the coffin she built herself. This isn't who we are. No, I said. It's who you became. She broke then. Tears spilled fast and ugly. It was a mistake. He didn't mean anything. I was stupid, I was scared, and I thought you didn't see me anymore. I stepped forward, calm and sure. I saw you. You stopped seeing me. She collapsed into the chair, shoulders shaking. Can't we start over? I almost laughed. Start over from where? The lie? The hotel room? She didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. By dusk, she was gone. Her side of the closet was bare. Bathroom drawers empty. Even her perfume, the one I hated but came to associate with her, was missing. I stood in the hallway staring at the space she used to fill. There was no anger. No grief. Just stillness. That night, I sat on the back porch, feet up, whiskey in hand. Jack had stopped by earlier, dropped off a box of my old college stuff, photos, CDs, bad poetry. It was nostalgic in a way that didn't hurt. Jamie hadn't just betrayed me. She freed me. In the morning, I sent one last message. Just a sentence. Thanks for the photo. Without it, I'd still be living in a lie. No reply. Didn't need one. I deleted her contact, backed up my files, and set a new alarm for 6:30 a.m., a fresh start. That evening, I made dinner for one. Lit a candle anyway. Not for the memory of her, but for the version of me that finally walked away.